All right, welcome to the ASP.NET Community Stand-Up. Today I'm joined by Jiayan, and we're going to be seeing some Visual Studio updates for JavaScript and TypeScript. So welcome, Jiayan.
Hello,
So
everyone.
which team are you on at Microsoft?
Yeah, I'm part of the .NET PM, and I work together with the JavaScript and TypeScript tooling team in Visual Studio.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, it's always very interesting to me how there's the tooling and there's the Visual Studio side, and the integration is very interesting. So cool. All right, well, we will start off with some community links. So just a few of them today, but some pretty cool ones. So first of all, Anthony here is talking about minimal workers in .NET. So there's, there's, as he mentions in his post, there's a lot of things you'll read about minimal APIs, but workers as well, the templates are pretty lightweight. So he kind of compares the difference in the setup for them and then talks about how to create a minimal worker. So how to, set up your project and then, set up the builder and run it. What I also like about this post is he goes into a little more depth on some things that are important to do when running a minimal worker. So for instance, setting up server garbage collection is important. So in some ways it's kind of like just a console app, but you do want your server garbage collection running. And then, a few other things just as far as how to like deal with lifetime services and that sort of stuff. So, okay, another one here. This is a cool one from Khalid Abu Hakma, and here he's talking about running Vite with ASP.NET Core web apps. So Vite is a pretty cool front-end system used for Vue, but a lot of other things, and really great support for hot reload in development, and then also bundling and stuff. So he goes through and talks about, what is Vite, gives you the basics on that, how to set up and run the servers, and then kind of walks through how to manually add that to ASP.NET Core, pulling in the right things into your projects and stuff, and how to configure it. So this is pretty cool. There's also Rob Connery's been looking at some really cool stuff with Vite and Svelte and some other templates. And so kind of spoiler alert, but we may be looking at that soon on ASP.NET Community Stand-Up. I'll have to get him on to show what he's been doing with that. This is really cool. It's a good amount of manual work to get this configured. So Rob's looking at streamlining that some. Okay. This is an amazing post from Syed, and here he's talking about some really cool stuff in API development in Visual Studio 2022. So they've been doing a ton of stuff on the API experience, the whole development experience. And so here he walks through building, scaffolding out an API. So there's a video he's done with this. Here he just kind of talks through getting started with an API application and scaffolding in Visual Studio. A lot of people aren't aware that scaffolding has support for minimal APIs. So here he's scaffolding out minimal APIs with endpoints. Talks through all the stuff about how to do that. And then I'm not going to go into huge detail on this because there's a lot of information here, as you can see in the scroll bar. But he goes through things like data seeding, working with Entity Framework, and the EF support. This is another thing that is kind of snuck up on a lot of people, is in the connected services, there's support for actually running your migrations. And so this shows how to do that, add, update database, etc. Then after running the migrations, this is a real kind of exciting API-based thing in the post, is the Endpoints Explorer. So here it's able to look at your application and show all the different endpoints that are available, and then you can actually run them in there. So what's neat here is this also integrates with the HTTP file support. So if you go and say, open an editor, then you can see an HTTP file, and then you can directly run those. And this HTTP editor, he goes through and shows how to do that. You can configure what the request is, and you can set all kinds of different, different parameters and things. And this is an actual file in your application. So if you want, you can save this, version control it, etc. and use it for integration testing. So then he just goes through and shows how to use that, and a lot of information kind of in depth about how those HTTP files work with the HTTP file syntax. All right. So now let me see. One other cool thing here is we have a post from Alia. She's been posting about the Upgrade Assistant. I'm a huge fan of the Upgrade Assistant. And this post talks about both MAUI support and Azure Functions. So since this is an ASP.NET stand-up, I'm going to kind of skip ahead. The MAUI thing is amazing, but the Azure Functions part is really useful for web developers. So if you have something that is an older version of Azure Functions, sometimes it can be a little bit of work to update it to newer versions. The isolated support in version 4 is really useful, but it also is a bit of a jump. And so it's great to have the Upgrade Assistant able to help that. So that is that. Now I want to, if all has gone right, we have some auto posting blogs that are going out, and yay, they happened. Okay, so this just dropped. So this is .NET 8 Preview 4, and so we'll talk about some of the cool features in there. So we're doing monthly previews on .NET 8, which is due out in November, and a lot of great stuff in this post. Some of the highlights here, there's some new things on build. The terminal output has a really cool like integrated support, so it'll show progress. It'll show, it kind of rolls things up instead of scrolling down. So this is really great. And then there's a lot of more information in here about the type of like if you have errors or diagnostics, it'll show that as well. So this is really great to see this as the terminal in Windows, and modern terminals are able to show a lot of other information. It's great that the .NET commands are able to support that as well. And a lot of other stuff in this post. I won't go through all of it in depth. There's a ton of stuff. There's definitely some things to pay attention to in NuGet. And in NuGet, there's a lot of things with security. So a lot of package-related security stuff where it can scan. It can show whether whether things are have known vulnerabilities, etc. So that is great. And then also some information, and that's integrated in with the .NET command. So like .NET add package, et cetera, it'll show if a package has a known vulnerability. So a lot more other things in here. I guess the last one I'll show is this time abstraction. So this is really neat. This is, especially if you're doing like unit or integration testing with something that relies on time, mocking time has been a pain in the neck. And also inside of .NET, we've had several different internal abstractions. So now they're creating one time provider abstraction and allowing using that internally. And then it's also something that you can use externally. So you can create a timer or whatever, and then you can test against it as an abstraction. All right. 2 more links I've got to share. One is EF Core 8 Preview 4. And so Shai goes into information here on especially LINQ and improving how LINQ works with collections. So he talks through translation of LINQ for inline collections, parameter collections, etc. So a lot of information about how they've improved the translation to the SQL queries and simplified how you can work with collections in your EF queries. And finally, and last but not at all least, since this is the ASP.NET stand-up, we've got ASP.NET Core 8, .NET 8 Preview 4. So we're continuing to see updates in Blazor. A lot of things with Blazor support, since there's so much going on with Blazor in this release, streaming rendering, font handling, etc. So that's cool. API. So we talked earlier about the HTTP file support in Visual Studio, and now it's also simpler because you can create an API project and it'll automatically include an HTTP file for your testing. Native AOT is something that they've been doing to enhance how ASP applications are more AOT ready, and the AOT compiler improves the both the size and the speed of your applications. And then one other one that I'll wrap up with is authentication and authorization. So we talked earlier, there's a blog post saying that we're improving authentication and authorization in this release. And one of the areas we've heard is that it's difficult to set up authentication and authorization for APIs and single page applications. And so, so I'll jump down to that. And that is, yeah, so there's identity API endpoints now. And so that allows you can create API, you can, for instance, here, let's register a new user. Obviously, you need to handle the security for all this, but you're able to, through your APIs, you can go through and set all that up. And thank you to Sean, because Sean actually pointed out one other thing, which I should have linked to as well, and that is Build is next week. We have a blog post out on that. Actually, let me go way back up to the top. We'll go to the .NET blog. We'll go over here and we'll scroll back a bit. And we have, so we posted earlier about what we've got going on at Build. I can totally find this very quickly. It's going to be on page 3. I have a good feeling. No, come on now. We have a listing of all the .NET related stuff coming up at Build. I guess I can share it in the thing. I guess I scrolled by it. But yeah, there is on the .NET blog. And then also you can, of course, just go directly to the thing. This would be way too early for it. I think it was in April that we did it. So let's go back to, I know this is exciting watching me scroll through these. Portfolio. There it is. No. Let's go to 2. Oh, no. Was it on page 1 and I went by it too fast? Everyone probably saw it. It was like, John, you went right by it. Oh, well, I give up. It was on, it was recently posted. I will share it out in the links, and a lot of great stuff coming up at Build. So, and I will, with that, stop sharing my screen, and I'll turn it over to you, Jiayan. So here we go. Let's take that off the screen. And all right, what do we got?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Yeah, so today we got a Visual Studio updates for JavaScript and TypeScript. So let's get started with the first slide. Yeah, so here's the agenda. So we have a couple items. So first, we will kind of ask the question why you should use like JavaScript and TypeScript in Visual Studio, and then come up with a couple project templates. And then it's like the code editing experience that we have. And it's the dependency management following with compatibility with VS Code, and come up with a what's next thing for the future. Yeah. So cool. So first slide, we do have like a try to kind of move this thing up like to where it's invisible, but yeah, looks like I failed on this also. Yeah, so never mind. Let's go ahead and get started on like why JavaScript and TypeScript in Visual Studio. So first, you can always like run backend and front end together in one place with one click. So that's a pretty good experience. So like for .NET developers, I think Visual Studio is one of their top choices they interact with on a daily basis. So if you do, like it will be demo later, but like you can see that from a project template, you can directly run your both like a modern JavaScript framework, including Angular, React, and Vue as your front end, together with your .NET Web APIs as the back end. So you are able to do that all within one click. And the second point here is like we do support JavaScript and TypeScript hosted in .NET, MAUI, and C# C++ apps throughout Vue 2. And you can also reference like JavaScript project from ASP.NET projects for MS Build. So that's also a very good experience, especially when you have like JavaScript as part of the dependency for Blazor and other stuff as ASP.NET projects. So first, we're gonna show up a project template, like a a list of project templates. So starting with like ASP.NET Core with React, Angular, and Vue. So those are the combined templates. What does it mean by combined templates? Is like you do have like a project templates where you have one solution and two projects in there. So one template, it creates like two projects under a solution for you. And you can like you just need to search full stack application in new project dialog, and you will see everything listed there. Also, you can visit those links. Those links will direct you to the tutorial on how to use that. So this those templates are starting available in 17.5. If you are not on the latest version of Visual Studio, please don't forget to update that. And it does work out of the box with multiple project start. So if you want to, so like after the initial setup, like you don't need to change the line of code, set up like multiple projects start correctly, you will be able to see those project templates work out of the box. And it can build, test, and deploy separately. So let's go to a quick live demo and show what's going on here. So I open my Visual Studio, and here, as we mentioned, you go to File, New Project. And in here, you do search like full stack application. And you see like Angular, React, and Vue here. So those templates are the ones that we mentioned as part of the as was showing in the PowerPoint. And this time I will select like React and ASP.NET Core. It does take some time for the new project creation. So this solution 3 is exactly what it looks after project creation. So in here, you do have like a React app here. It's the front-end JavaScript app. You can also use TypeScript for sure. And then the web API is a typical .NET backend API where you have all those files as the controller and the program CS. Okay, so in here, you will be go ahead to the solution level and click on property. So in the startup project, you will have like current selection, single startup project. But in this time, we will do like multiple startup project where you will start both web API and React app at the same time. So if I click on start, you will see like the build process start for like the React app, and I start to run npm underneath. So this is my command line. It's running kind of like React scripts, and together with the .NET run. So after a quick while, you'll start to see the development server. It's starting up for the project. Takes a while.
So this is running two separate servers, and it's running kind of the front end server and the back end server as well, right?
Yes. This is the front end. It's on local, and this is our guy. So you do have a Swagger for this. So yeah, so this is how you see those APIs. You do have the weather forecast get APIs. You have the schemas defined here. So those are the data vended directly from the APIs to the front end. So this is a React app. It's in its very basic forms. I can zoom in a little, so you can see those are the dates and the summary of the temperature. Every time you refresh that, it will get like a set of like new random temperatures and summaries. So yes, so that's it. So it's directly from the project creation to a working application, and you can start like coding based on what's already there. Let me close those windows. One other thing that's worth call out is like you do kind of see those tests in the text explorer. So after you build a solution, again, like you do see like this React app by default, we do a app test.js for you. So it's the test name is called like render.js for this. This is called like yeah. So renders learn React link. You can run it directly from the test explorer. And here you go. Yeah. So this is JavaScript unit testing basically. Sure. And the next, this is the first demo that we have for today. So let me go back to the slides and from current slide. So the next one we're going to talk about is the code editing experience. So every single person, like as a developer, you probably need to edit code on a very frequent basis. So we did make an improvement, a great improvement for the syntax highlighting. So you can see the above is the 17.5, this currently in GA. The bottom is the 17.6, where you see all those rich colors for syntax highlighting. And we do support personalization, so you can change to different colors as you would like to. Linked editing is like a new feature supported in TypeScript 5.1, which is currently under beta, in JSX files. So for HTML tags, you are able to do linked editing. This will also be demoed. And one great feature that like Visual Studio users love is the code lens. The code lens is now available for JavaScript and TypeScript. Yeah, so let's do another live demo here. Let me pull up this screen. Yeah, so this is a simple kind of React calculator for opening Visual Studio. So you can see like this is the current GA version, 17.5, and this is like a 17.6 plus. We have all those rich color. So first you can see. So let's open the folder operate. So where all the control have like pink colors in there as compared with the old one. And the second one, you do see like types. So let's go to the types.ts. So for strings and numbers, you do have a separate color for this. And yeah, so for variables, you have the light blue color for this. And you will also see the escape characters in the string with a separate color distinguished from other parts of the string. You do see like the parameters in app.js. So you have like state with 3 properties. It's colored differently as compared with the old one where you only have the white color. And you do see those methods. Let's go to a method in operate. This is called operate. So methods functions will be having its own color. And another big thing for JS docs. So you go to the calculate. So for JS docs, you do have like the parameters with a different color and also the variable names. Yep. So this is it for the colorization, and you can go for sure to tools options, and you go to like the front end colors. You can change all those things. Just display here as user members function. As user members here to change the whatever color you would like to. Yeah, so it's like user members, for example, the locals, the methods are the ones that we just mentioned. Yeah, so the next one is linked editing. So you do have the linked I do have a linked.jss files. So as you see here, I installed TypeScript version 5.1 here. So from output of IntelliSense logo, IntelliSense output, you do see those like the TypeScript 5.1 is updated, included as part of the project as a dependency. So here, if you do HTML tags, you have like div, and yeah, so it will be linked editing to the other side, so which makes your editing work a little easier. Yep. So yeah, so this is a part of the code editing demo. Yeah, let's go back to the slides and show it from the current slide. The next one we're going to talk is dependency management. So for dependency management in Visual Studio, we do have a similar experience as NuGet, but with a set of UI where you can search the packages you want, tell if it's already installed locally in this project or not, and you can install the latest version after you search and find it. So it's available in JavaScript projects with a kind of with the ES project right now, and we are working on to also pull it into ASP.NET projects. So when we detect there's package.json in your .NET project, you will able to use this like UI-based approach to update your package.json with npm dependencies. Yeah, so also do another live demo here. I open like Visual Studio. That's the same solution. as we have earlier today. So like here's an npm node. We right click to view the context menu, and you will see the install new npm packages. So this dialog will show up. So if I want to process some JSON, so this is a JSON kind of dependency. You can see a brief introduction and like see the version on here. So you click on install package. And after a while, npm install will run for this package at the background, and wait for a while, and you will see it kind of like updated and install locally. So if you go to the package.json, you will be seeing this one already included in part of dependency, and you don't need to worry about anything else. So it's working and being part of your project dependency.
Nice. So those are integrated together. If I updated the project, if I update project JSON, it's going to show up in the UI as well, right? So
yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
like it will read your dependencies and show it in the UI as well as if you update it using the UI, the package.json will show up.
Okay.
Yeah.
To make sure I heard right. So currently that's supported in the ES proj, and then your future work is to make that also supported in ASP.NET applications if it sees the project JSON file?
Yes. So when it sees the package.json file, it will show up underneath the package. So with the npm logo there. So you will see it very soon. In one of our preview features. So that if you have JavaScript dependencies within the ASP.NET projects, you are able to use that experience to manage that.
Okay. Yep. Nice. That's, it's funny, but the package JSON, like it's just something I always forget, like the syntax, right? On how to specify the caret, and, so it's nice to have a UI to do that. Like I can do the JSON editing, but it's nice to have a UI instead. So.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, cool. Next one, we do have the VS Code compatibility. So there are works that we do for the JavaScript product system. So to make sure that it's like very compatible with VS Code, so you can do your stuff in both environments without additional configures. So we do support launch.json as one of the setup. Package.json is the place that you define the scripts and also the dependency. So that's also the same standard that we use in Visual Studio. So there are two scenarios basically. One is like for JavaScript project created by Visual Studio. So as the project I just showed, it will open and run seamlessly in VS Code, which is great. And on the other side, you may have existing JavaScript projects in GitHub, or you create those by various different CLI as Vite, as we mentioned Vite earlier in this chat. So you have various source, and we are working to bring that experience in Visual Studio, which means like you can open those JavaScript projects or applications or folders, and we will kind of like help you to create a project file and put it into your solution. So basically, help with the experience to work together with other stuff that you have in Visual Studio. So here's a quick live demo also on this part. So one of the project type that's used very often by users is the JavaScript console application. It's almost like a blank app, so you can do whatever you want. So I already created one that's called like a Node console app. So in here, so open this file. It's like a launch.json already defined, and the app itself is very simple. It's just like a hello world. And I set up a breakpoint here, and I go launch the program. So you will see my console runs, and it's a very simple console application. Yeah, so that's it. And I will continue, and the project will just stop run because it's just one line of code. I opened the same application also in VS Code. So in here, you will see everything stays the same, one line code. And I go run and debug the same kind of like a launch program. You will see like my console is up and running. The hello world just showed up, and press any key to continue. You don't need any other launch settings or anything else. It just works out of box. So we make sure that what we produce in Visual Studio is very compatible with VS Code. So you can choose whichever you would like to use.
You can go back and forth smoothly.
Yes.
Nice.
Here are the next slide. We talk about what's next for the next 3 to 6 months in the next couple of release. First one, we want to improve NPM UI. So the UI right now is like giving a specific version of the packages, but maybe sometimes you want to select an older version that works better with your code. So we will be enable like different version selection for the NPM UI so that you know which one version you would like to if you don't want to install the latest one. The second one, I think, has been brought up by the community a lot. We just hear various feedback saying that people want to use like Azure Static Web App for the front end, sometimes Azure Functions at the back end. So we right now, like the JavaScript projects, you will do a project reference from like the .NET project and like deploy that, use the public function that we already have for .NET. But like in the future, we are thinking about, so like to get your front end project deployed separately to Azure Static Web App, and the back end, we can go anywhere using app services or Azure Functions. So it becomes a separate front end and back end deployment. And if you only change part of your application, you don't need to deploy the whole thing again. You just deploy either your back end or front end. This next one is like open any code, any folder in Visual Studio for JavaScript projects. So a lot of users mention that one of the friction they have is like if they are a little leaning towards front-end JavaScript ecosystem, they don't have the concept of projects and solutions at all. So it's just like a folder as pretty much the Visual Studio Code kind of standard. We will make it easier for you to open your JavaScript folder and projects in Visual Studio and help create a project file for you so that whatever defined there as a run script will kind of being recognized by Visual Studio and also, of course, MS Build. The next one is like inline unit tests. We plan to do unit tests inline of code. Instead of opening the text explorer, you may just run a single test from within the code itself. It will help like make it easier for you to run unit tests for JavaScript and TypeScript. The last one we have.
Sorry, quick question. So that's will that work in Visual Studio? Would that integrate in with the Visual Studio unit testing experience then?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
So it's inline and like you will invoke just single tasks from the code itself. Yeah.
Okay.
And last one is like MS Build integration and improvements. So we do see for Blazers and other ASP.NET users who they sometimes need to use part of JavaScript as the project dependency. So we want to make it easier for you to use like JavaScript projects as part of like a reference from .NET projects. And you're able to run those, you're able to build those files and put into the output directory as you specified as part of the MS Build. And you can like, MS Build will invoke NPM run build for you. And if you don't want that anytime, you can just simply override that. Yeah, so those are the 5 work items that we have for the near future. And we love to hear feedbacks and thoughts on how you think those will be useful and what do you like the most? What do you think can be a feature suggestion? So so that's all the content that we have. And we can go to a quick Q&A for the questions raised by the community.
Great. Okay, one question as you were wrapping up, you're saying you want to hear feedback and stuff. What's the best way for people to leave feedback? Or
we do have a survey link. So can I just send it in the chat?
Yeah. So if we're in StreamYard, if you go over to the right side, there should be a link or a thing that says 2 people or something, and you can chat it to me and then I can share it.
Yeah, sure. Let me. So yeah, let me paste a link here. So
okay. And then I will put it in the comments and I'll put it in the show description afterwards too.
Yep.
And get your other questions in while he's typing that up, and then we'll go through and do some Q&A on this. We've already got some good ones lined up. Let me see. Yep, got some questions coming in. Cool. Yep. Jiayan, they want to know which kind of keyboard you're using. They say it sounds like a cool mechanical keyboard.
Yeah, I'm using like Philco. Yeah, this is one of my favorite keyboard. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let me all right, I'm pasting this over. I have a mechanical keyboard, but I have a kind of quiet one. I have this bizarre one called a Keyboardio, and it's it looks like I don't even know. I'm tempted to point my camera at it, but then I would mess everything up. But it's yeah, sure, why not? Okay, camera's going on the field. That is my bizarre keyboard, but I love it. Okay, so now let me try and get that back. Did that kind of work? Okay, so I shared the link in the comments. I have put a banner up as well for this. And oops, cool. Okay, so great. I'll put that up there, and I will get rid of that. Let's go like that. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, very very classic, but like it's good. I use it every day.
Cool. Okay, let's go to the questions then. So, let's see what we got here. Okay, I started several. Okay, here's one, and this is a common thing that comes up. What do you do if IntelliSense isn't working for JavaScript? Like, are there things that you kind of run into with this? Any recommendations on that?
Yeah. So first, like, if it's not working, you probably need to check the ES lanes. So sometimes we do have a pop-up here. You don't have a ES lanes configured for your project. So if you do see that notification, follow the steps to resolve that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one important thing. And the second thing, you can always view the output from the TS server, see what's going on there. So if there's any errors or like other stuff, we like in it was breaking at some time, but it was already fixed. So also check your Visual Studio version to make sure that you have the latest one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, like in the preview, it's like easy. Like sometimes it's a breaking version, but like it doesn't happen very often.
So speaking of versions, you had two versions of Visual Studio running side by side. How did you do that?
Yeah.
Did you just have like one was a community and one was like enterprise or whatever? You just installed multiple versions and
Yeah, I do install the GA version and then the preview and the internal preview. So like there's three versions that's like used for this presentation. Yeah.
cool. Okay, let's go through some more questions here. So get rid of that one. For package management, does it support, is it NPM only?
Right now it's NPM only. Yeah.
Okay. All right. A few questions on things like support for.
Let's go back to the question. So like if you want to use PMPM, so you do you can configure yourself. So everything like the run scripts and everything. So like by default it's supporting NPM, but it's easy to just for you to override that using PMPM. So we have users successfully in there. Yeah. So just you can configure your own way. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, and then question in here, some of this is released and some of this is upcoming, but I just wanted general question, when is it planned for release? So as I understood it, if you get the preview release now, you'll see essentially a lot of the things that you showed there, right?
Yeah, so the project template, like just to clarify a list of like when it's available, the project template is already available in GA, so it's like 17.5. The code editing related stuff are mostly available in 17.6. 17.6, I believe, is GA later this week. So if you download the latest version of Visual Studio, you do see those ones like available. Only all the feature demo, the only one that's not available in 17.6 is linked editing. So that one needs 17.7. But good news is 17.7 preview one is also out this week. together with like 17.6 GA. So if you want to try that one, so go to the preview channel and find the 17.7.
Yeah, I really recommend too. I always run the previews at least, and because you can do side by side, I never get kind of stuck with, oh no, my Visual Studio is broken, my computer's messed up, because I can always just use the release version as well if there's some, if I run into something. So, cool. Question about Svelte support.
Yeah. So for the project creation, we are thinking about like just opening up as command line inputs. So those ones like major frame, like React definitely have more usage than other frameworks, and Angular for sure. For Servlet, you can like input your command lines for project creation. So no matter what you configure, it will invoke the local CLIs for you so that you can create Servlet project template together with your ASP.NET. So that's possible in Visual Studio. It's a planned feature that we are thinking about. So yeah, stay tuned.
Cool. All right, let me see. And keep your questions coming in. Okay. What are some real world application for a JavaScript console app?
Yeah, so it's kind of fun. We call it console app. But in fact, the users converting like JavaScript console app to a wider variety of whatever things. So they use console app as like a blank app template. So they do whatever they want on this one, and like the console app still one of the highest usage kind of templates that we have. Yeah, okay. So it's ranked one of the top. I'm curious what users do on the console app, but we found that users are just using it as a blank app.
Okay. So kind of a blank slate, and then you can build whatever you want with it then. Okay. Nice. Okay. Question here. So Azure App Service in general, like, do you configure them first before using the template, or do you create the project using the template and then configure it during deployment? How does that work?
Using those templates. Yeah. So right now, so the publish to Azure or deploy to Azure experience only lives in kind of like the .NET projects. So as a tutorial says, you have to configure and register those before deployment, even when using those templates. But we are thinking about to make it easier for you. So we did have a couple templates with Azure before, so with some Azure kind of like configuration. But like now in the JavaScript projects, we are also want to make sure that so if you want to deploy to static web app or app services or Azure functions, we do two things. One is like for a very common use case, try to configure that in the project templates for you so that it can go to Azure without much configuration. And the second, just do documentations and tutorials to help you deploy that, to write it up together with Azure to as a step-by-step guide, like which files, which configs do you need, and how to configure and register that before deployment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's all the live questions we have for right now. I want to just talk through one more to make sure I understand too. So we've got the traditional ASP.NET front-end applications. It was integrated into the project in a subfolder. And then what you showed, these full stack project templates, has it separated into two separate projects, an ES project and a .NET project. Are they both going to continue to exist, or is the plan for the integrated one to kind of go away and move to the solution that has two separate projects? What's the kind of long term?
Yeah, I think that's an awesome question. So overall, we do want to replace the old kind of single project Spark templates with a new kind of multiple project solution with like front end and back end live very separate with each other. So that's what we planned, and we probably gonna we are thinking about discontinuing the support for the Spark templates in the future, maybe 1 or 2 release away. One of the major reasons we are doing that is like the old Spark templates is a project file copy, so we're kind of like it's kind of lag behind and old in some way. The new project templates, what's it actually doing and why it's taking a little longer than the .NET kind of project creation is because we are no longer doing kind of file copy. It's invoking the local CLI that you have installed, for example, npm npx or like ng for Angular. So it's running the local version. So no matter like which version are you using or which version have you updated to. So it's constantly evolving over the time as long as you have your local CLI most up to date. So this is a preferred and a more supported way in the JavaScript ecosystem, since the JavaScript ecosystem is like evolving so fast.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, that was a ton of great information, a lot of great demos. That's all the live questions we have. So I'm sharing out this this link, and we've shared it in the chat. And anything else, kind of a takeaway? Where should people kind of keep up with these updates as they go forward? The Visual Studio blog, or?
Yeah. So quick thing. So one thing is like for the project templates, we do like just add on to the point before is like we will also have a plan to try to help single project system users to migrate to a multiple project system, so that front end and back end can be better separated and have a better support natively in Visual Studio. And to keep up with the update, I have a similar blog post as what you kind of did for other folks in the Visual Studio blog post. So it's kind of like similar to content here, but like for your reference, a little earlier, a little later after this presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll probably also pull our stuff mostly in Visual Studio blogs. But I believe a lot of like those users are .NET developers.
Do you want to? I'll share that in the comments and on a banner. But do you want to just show that on your screen real quick? That blog post.
Yeah, the blog post is actually the basis of the presentation, but we do have this one here. Yeah.
Awesome. Here. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah. There's
all right.
similar comments here, but yeah. So also addressing a couple common questions that users have.
Nice. Okay. And then that has a link also to that survey as well. Right?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Well, that seems like a great place to end up. This was a lot of great information, and people are really excited about the comments are very positive here. A lot of people are very excited about what you're working on here. So this is great stuff.
Yeah. Thank you so much, John. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Awesome. Thanks everyone for watching. And be sure to follow along for Build. Lots of great announcements and stuff happening next week at Build. So, all right. Bye, everybody.